Good morning, everyone. I'm Professor Shala Sharmin. Welcome to today's class. Today we are going to focus on topic 5, and the title is Decision Making. Decision making is a very important part of our life. All of us go through different kind of decision making in different part of our life. I'm sure most of you know a story that indecision killed a donkey. There was one donkey who had some pile of hay and also a bucket of water. But the donkey couldn't decide whether to eat the hay first or to drink the water first. So the donkey waited hours after hours and couldn't make the right decision and then died out of hunger and thirst. We all are kind of in that kind of situation. Sometimes we cannot find the better solution for different kind of problems in our life. So decision making, that's why, is a very important part of our life. Same with managers. Managers, the part of their job is planning, organizing, directing, controlling. Everything needs decision making. So decision making is important to achieve the organizational goals, to solve problems, and every manager or every human being needs to go through it. So we will discuss more about decision making in this chapter. Let's talk about decision making. So there are some steps or process by following which you can take decision. It's not true that all the decision you take in your life, those are the good one or best one. There will be problem. We learn from trial and error. But if you take decision depending on this process, most of the time the output is better. So this step-by-step decision-making process will help you identify the problem, to come up with good alternative, and to choose the best solution for the problems. So the first step is you have to identify a problem. So when you realize that you need to take a decision, you have to understand the nature of your problem and then take decision. So this step is very, very important. This first step is very, very important to understand, to identify the problem. Then in the next stage, you develop, analyze, and select an alternative that can resolve the problem. So after doing research, after analyzing, reanalyzing, I'm sure you will come up with some collective information that will show you different path or action or alternative that you can choose as your decision or solution. You can sometimes use your imagination or your experience to come up with new alternative. So here in this step, you choose the desirable alternative for your problem. Next step is when you implement the selective alternative. So once you know that what your problem is and you know different path, you can come up with the best alternative, the one that suits your problem best. And then sometimes you can choose different kind of solution, like a combination of alternative. Okay, and last one is evaluating the decision's effectiveness. So after taking a decision, you should not forget about it. You should keep checking on it, whether the decision you took, was it fruitful or not? Do you have to change something on it or not? Okay, so you have to evaluate that the decision you took, was it effective? Was it the right one or not? So if not, you have to change your decision. Maybe you have to start from step 1 again, or maybe change in some process. It's up to you. So I can give you one example. For example, some school friends or university friends, they decided to go on a party and they decided to smoke there. So as a very knowledgeable and responsible citizen, you decided not to smoke. So the problem, what is the problem here? You identified the problem is if you go to the party, you have to smoke. There will be a pressure, peer pressure from your friends that you have to smoke. So then you can come up with different ideas that what are the things you can do. Number one, you can like change your plan of not going to the party. Number two, you can go and under peer pressure you smoke. Or number three, you still go to the party but tell your friends that you decide not to smoke. Okay, so then you have to choose that which one is the right alternative for you. So here you can think that if you don't go to the party, you miss the chance to meet your friend. If you go to the party and smoke, that means that you are not acting responsible. And number three alternative, that you can go to the party, meet your friend, have good time and tell them that you decide not to smoke, and you can also stop them not to smoke, right? So you are implementing option 3 here, which is the best one so far, and then evaluating the decision's effectiveness. After choosing that option, you can go to the party, follow that, and if something come up, you can come up with a new decision or do some change in plan, like leave the party early or make your friend understand that why you choose not to smoke, things like that. In this slide, I have added some vocabulary, the English word and their Chinese and Korean meaning. Please go through this. It will help you understand the further slides better. So for your understanding, I will just read the words loud. Please repeat after me for better pronunciation. Number 1, identifying problem. Number 2, developing. Number 3, analyzing. Number 4, selecting alternative. And number 5, evaluate effectiveness. So these are the steps in decision making process. Okay. Let's talk about the skills you need for decision making. Well, everybody can come up with some decision, but do you think everybody's decision is a good one? Obviously not. And decision making, I'm calling it a skill because it actually shows your talent, your proficiency of like choosing between two or more alternative that can give you a good output. It can help you get the organizational goal more successfully. So you must have wide variety of skills to make the right decision and change the scenario of your organization. But I've added like 3, which are the most important one. As a decision maker, you should be perfectly rational, fully objective, and logical. So when you're taking decision, you should be very practical. You should use your logic. You should be logical. You should not take any decision according to your preferences. You cannot be biased. You have to be objective. You should not think about your likes and dislikes. You have to think about the organizational profit. Okay. And a decision maker should carefully define the problem and identify all alternatives. So as I said, everybody can make a decision, but it doesn't mean that everyone's decision is a good one. So when you understand what the problem is and you understand there should be like a decision should be taken, so that step is the most important step, as I told you earlier, step 1. So you should be like carefully define the problem and then identify all alternatives. Some managers or people, they take their decision very quickly without checking all the alternatives. Some people, they take long time to check every alternative possible, even if the one that you don't need to check on. So you should utilize your time and knowledge properly to take decision. And you should have a clear and specific goal. Like, why are you taking decision? What will it bring you? Is it profitable? Is it good or bad for your organization? You have to keep these things in mind and then take a decision. So now let's talk about types of problems and decision. So why do we take decision? We take decision when there is a problem or there is a opportunity ahead. So then we have to solve the problem and get that good opportunity to come up with a successful outcome. That's why we take different kind of decision. So let's talk about the problem. As I told you, you have to identify the problem first before taking the decision. So there are many different kind of problem, but these are the basic: structured problems and unstructured problems. So what are structured problems? It's like a problem that like people usually face like in day-to-day work life, including using different kind of machinery, turning on and off the computer, and some technological problem. So this structure problem, these have actually clear goals. You have to fix the machine. For example, if you're using a printer machine, if it's broken, so you have to fix it, otherwise you cannot print. So it's very clear. You know the goal, why you have to fix it, and are very familiar. Like machines, they get broken. It's very common, it's very familiar, and we know who to contact or what to do. So it's structural problem. So it's called structured problems. Next is unstructured problem. So an unstructured problem is a problem that you don't know at the first place how to identify that what's wrong. Okay, so before you start working on it, you don't know how to solve the problem, and even after you identify the problem, it's hard to come up with a solution because these problems are new and unusual, like unexpected. For example, your company is facing loss for many months, but you don't know what's going wrong. Everything is going exactly as before when your company was making profit. So then you have to look into all the accounts, you need to look into all the customer and their feedback, and you need to check on with the bank and tax and government policy. Then maybe you will come up with an answer that what's actually going wrong, and then you have to take a decision. So how can you take a decision for structured problem? So the problems which are structured, you can solve those or take a decision by following a procedure. So what is a procedure? A series of interrelated steps to respond to a structured problem. As I told you, for example, the printer is not working, so you can follow some steps to make the printer work again. And structured problem can also be handled with a policy, like a general guideline for making a decision about a structured problem. So if the company printer is not working, you are suggested to call some agency who take care of the printer of your company. So the guideline is there that who to contact if there is any problem. And if you have an unstructured problem, those are mostly handled with non-programmed decision. What does that mean? Decisions that are unique. They require custom-made solution. So as I said, if your company is facing loss, you have to check what's wrong with it. You have to think about the global market. You have to think about different potential. You need to look into the competitor, and you have to come up with a solution whether to sell off an unprofitable vision or not. So these kind of problems can be solved with non-programmed decision, unique. So you have to come up with an idea, like all of a sudden out of nowhere. There is no fixed guideline to solve those kind of problem. So when you know what the problem is and you know how to solve it, the structure one, there is a good thing about it. There is certainty. What is certainty? You know that what can be the accurate, like best decision possible, because you know the alternative, you know the outcome. But if your problem is unstructured one, there is uncertainty. That means you don't know as a decision maker that what will be the result. You have to try different kind of alternative. Maybe one will be successful, two will fail. Maybe you have to mix and match. So you are not sure about the result. If you are good with decision making, maybe you get lucky enough and your problem is solved, you're making profit. But if you're unlucky, then maybe you face failure again. So there is no certainty. It's uncertain. As you're not following any steps, you don't know what will be the result. Let's talk about different types of decision makers. As I told you earlier that everybody can make decision, but it doesn't mean that everybody's decision is a good one, a successful one. So there are different kind of people, different kind of manager. They handle the organization differently. So let's talk about different type of decision maker, how usually people take decision, what is good about it or what is bad about it. So one style is called directive style of decision making. So usually managers who are very aggressive in nature, who doesn't want to share or inform people or ask for opinion, who use minimal information and they don't consider many alternatives, they take decision as a directive decision making like style. Next is analytic decision maker, who makes careful decision in a unique situation. So they try to come up with the best answer. Okay, so they enjoy problem solving and they look into different kind of alternative. They try to come up with innovative idea. Okay, and they actually enjoy different kind of like variety of problem and new challenges. Next is conceptual style of decision making. So usually this kind of decision maker, they're very creative. So they always ask, what if I do this? What if I do that? Okay, so they have a broad outlook and they always think what will happen after 10 years. They think about the future. They enjoy coming up with new ideas. Okay. Last one is behavioral. This kind of decision maker, they try to avoid conflict by working well with others and they always ask for a suggestion. So they are like team player, you can say. They always look for others' advice. They're very kind in nature. They're good at communicating. Okay, so these are like different kind of decision maker. We cannot say that which one is best, which one is worst. Actually, different kind of problem, different kind of situation actually brings out different kind of decision maker into action. While making decision, managers or usual people, they sometimes are faced with some kind of errors and biases. For example, overconfidence bias, like people who have unrealistic views about themselves or their performance. Like you go to a different country, for example, for a business trip, but you don't take any friend or coworker with you, you don't follow any map, you don't speak their language, you don't take any advice from the local, so you are just very confident that I can do it, but it's not realistic. You're in a different country, you need help of local, you need to know the language of the local people, you need to ask for help or use map while you're driving or going somewhere, right? Next problem can be selective perception, when people decide based on their biased perception. Like, for example, a teacher may have a favorite student who's like very good in English. So the teacher is like biased and make everything based in English and ask question in English, use hard grammar and vocabulary, just thinking about that good student, right? But the teacher should think about the class in general and use easy question, use easy language and talking like slow pace, right? So that is another example of like selective perception. like you are doing favoritism, you are biased, and you're ignoring the other group. Okay, so as I told you earlier that we all face some problem, and sometimes we don't know the nature of the problem. We don't know whether the decision we're taking is that a certain one or an uncertain one. So here intuition plays an essential role in decision making. So what is the role of intuition? It's like making decision on the basis of your experience or your feelings or your judgment. So sometimes the situation, the environment changes so rapidly, and you have to take decision all of a sudden. So in that kind of situation, intuition plays a very big role. So you have to come up with your immediate understanding, or you have to come up with a solution without reasoning. So an example of intuition can be like love at first sight, but as we all know, for some it's a good experience, for some it's not. So that's why many business researchers, they don't think that intuition is a good skill to use for decision making. They prefer more structured one, rational one for taking important business decisions. Thank you very much for paying attention. That's all for today. Before I say goodbye, I would like to remind you that you don't have any online quiz. You just write down your name and ID in the second tab, and I will be connected with you through web camera and Google Meet during the class time, but this video is for your better understanding. If there is any technical error that comes during the class time, I want to make sure that you can watch this video at home and do the class properly. Okay, so please check the report section. There will be one worksheet that you have to do, but the case study, we will just discuss that in the class. That's not for homework. For your homework, you have to do the worksheet only. Okay, and you will have 2 days. Within 2 days, you have to submit your answer in the report section. That's all for today. Take care. Bye bye. I will see you guys again next week. Same time, same day. Take care. Bye.